ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। We are into the last chapter of Kathopanishad. As we said yesterday, this mantra is so famous that Bhagavan Krishna uses this in the starting of 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So what is that greatness about this particular mantra? We will see it after we chant. Please repeat after me. Urdhva Mulo Vakshakha Yeshoshvathas Sanatanaha Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma Tadevamritamuchyate Tasmin Lokashrita Sarve Tadunatyeti Kaschana Ye Tadvaitat. So Bhagavan takes this particular mantra, and the best commentary to find on this mantra are the first 4 or 5 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita itself, of the 15th chapter. And to add glory to this mantra, Adi Shankaracharya ji goes on poetic blast in trying to explain this mantra in both here at Kathopanishad's commentary as well as in the Bhagavad Gita's commentary. Urdhva Mulaha Avak Shakha. He is talking about the tree of life. How is tree of life? It is upside down. Urdhva Mulaha. Urdhva Mulaha. Mula, the roots, are on the top. Avak Shakaha. Avak Shakaha, the branches are down below. Here Bhagavan Krishna continues to explain Chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda sa vedavit. There are the branches have lots of leaves. The leaves are the sustenance of this tree, and the sustenance of this life are the leaves called Chandamsi, the Vedas and the do's and don'ts that are given through the Veda. That is what binds, structures this entire universe. And what is this vriksha? Yesha Ashvathaha. Ashvathaha, it is a people tree. Ashvatha vriksha. It is a very confusing example. Swamiji, you said it was such a glorious one. You built up such a air about it. Now the air is thinning out. Ashwatha, meaning the peepal tree, is not to be taken, nothing in this mantra can be taken as literally what has been given word by word. It has to be understood figuratively. This entire universe has its source, its moola, its roots above. So, here when they are talking of moola, moola is not to be taken literally as the roots. The moola is to be taken as the source from which everything has come. So, the source is always up and the rest of the things that are branching out are down below. Say if you are taking example of a family tree, which is very common in our 7th grade class. We are talking of the family tree of the Pandavas and Kauravas. So, where does this family tree start? It can start anywhere, but the point of reference is King Shantanu. That is where it starts. He got married to Gangaji. Gangaji had 8 children, the 7 of which there was a promise between Gangaji and Shantanu. The 7 of them were taken back to the heavens. The 8th one he could not, withstand the kind of brutality. He stops her the moment, the day he questions her, she leaves him. That was also part of their clause. She leaves him and the child with him. His name was Devavrata. But then there was the second wife who was Satyavati. From here starts the story. So, now Satyavati and all the the sons that were then the promise of Bhishma, then the entrance of Amba, Ambika, Ambalika, the shapa of Amba, none of them having kids. So, the first child of Satyavati, Vedavyasa, was brought into picture. So, the entire picture, if you start from Shantanu, there are it branches out all the way to Parikshita. I am told that in Mahabharata there are around 100,000 characters, names, and none of the 100,000 names are repeated. Imagine a family tree starting from Shantanu, 100,000 names on the chart. So, it will have lots of branches as it spreads itself out. So, the root, the moola, the source of all this was King Shantanu. He is always on the top. The rest of them, his sons, his children, his grandchildren, their granddaughters, and the spread of it. As they say, ad infinitum. It can continue, it will branch out. Similarly, Paramatma is above, and that Paramatma is Sanatanaha, eternal. And how is this Vriksha? Why did they take the example of Vriksha? Vrakshanat Vrikshaha. This is what the Nirukta says. That which can be cut, that which can be felled, that is called a tree. So, the tree of samsara is like the Ashwatha. What does Ashwatha mean? Shwatha meaning that which has a definite tomorrow. We may plan for tomorrow, we may plan for 1 year ahead of time. Whenever I look at my itinerary, I keep laughing at myself. What guarantee do you have? 2013, the itinerary is filled. said, what guarantee do I have that I have a tomorrow? We plan very grand schemes, but do we have a guarantee of tomorrow? Life is very fictitious, it's like a fiction, it takes you by surprise. There is no guarantee of tomorrow. That is what is the nature of this entire universe. And to sum it up, Gurudev puts it in the most beautiful way. He says, change is the changeless law of this universe. Everything around us changes, including this entire system, it changes. That is why it is called Ashwatha. It is a choice that we can make. If I have to go through this process of getting cut and again be born, getting cut, again be born, I can continue that. Or the second meaning of Vraksha is to cut it for once and for all. How and when? When we reach the source, when we reach the Moola. Urdhva Moolaha. So, it is not to be taken as a literal translation, and there are many poets, many painters, artistic mindset. So, they take this mantra very literally and they have the tree of life upside down. And I said this upside down tree is very absurd. It does not make sense, but what they are talking about is Urdhva Moolaha, Paramatma is up above, untouched by any of these modifications. That which is supported by him is on constant flux, constant change, Ashwathavat. There is another meaning of Ashwatha. In the olden days, the transportation system was the horses and the bullock carts. For a local trip within the city, it was bullock cart. If it was for a long run, intercity, interstate, inter-kingdom, then they would take horses. Horses were called Ashwa, it is still called, not were called. Horses are called Ashwa in Sanskritam. So, when these people who would go on the horses, they would take rest after 6-7 hours of horse riding. I mean 6-7 hours of horse riding, you can imagine what would have happened, but they were robust, old is gold. So, when they had to take rest, there were no restaurants or there were no hotels wherein they could pre-book their coming and just check in, and so they would make a makeshift tent where under this tree, people tree. And why is it called Ashwatha? Ashwatha is where around there was a platform built, and that is where the horses were tied, Ashwatha. So, what is the tree? It is Ashwatha tree, where we have tied our horses. That is another meaning of Ashwatha. But here all these meanings do not matter. The main meaning I have already said, it is that which does not have a guarantee of tomorrow, that which is not permanent, that whose nature is impermanency, Ashwatha. Now, this impermanency is supported by that which is eternal, Sanatanaha. So, where should our focus be? Our focus be not on the changing multitude of this universe, but the changeless reality called Paramatma. Many of us get stuck with the changes of the changing world around. We are so much identified with the changes of or the flux of this world that sometimes we even we become these fluxes, these changes, and we know nothing more to be real than the constant change or being the constant change. Like physically, when you are seeing somebody day in and day out, you may not see that kind of a change. But when you see somebody after say a few months or few years, and the change, especially when they are children, man, they start growing, not growing, exploding exponentially. Every month there has to be new clothes, new sizes. And the parents who are seeing them, they may not see the change. But somebody who sees them for after a long time, suddenly they say, "Arey, you're really grown tall." Oh, is it? We didn't observe it that much. Everything around changes. But our focus is with the change, our tuning is with the change, and the most amazing part is the tuning with the change is not to continue the change, but to somehow resist that change and hold on to it. That which is constantly flowing with immense force and energy, trying to stop it is the most reckless thing to do. If Gangaji is flowing or any river is flowing, try to suddenly jam the entire flow. What will happen? Sooner or later, there will be that immense potentiality gathered, and what we will witness is called flash floods. And when that starts flowing, nothing can be stopped. And we are doing that. Life has a momentum, life has a change, life has a direction. We either want to change that direction or hold on to it so that it does not change. It's an impossible task. That is where I love the serenity prayer. O Lord, give me serenity to accept that which I cannot change. Give me strength to change that which I must. And the last part is the most beautiful part. Give me the wisdom to know the difference. So, what is it that can be changed? And what is it that cannot be changed? The world which is constantly fluctuating, we cannot change its nature to make it permanent. Don't try changing that. It is its nature. By definition, it has to change. But instead, what is it that can be focused to change? The only component in this entire universe that can be changed is myself. Nothing else can be changed. Do you think me talking or the Upanishad talking or Gurudev making this effort to talk can bring in a change? At least I am not under any such illusion. Not long ago, there was Paramatma himself in the form of Sri Krishna. And it's called Punya Bhumi, Bharata Varsha. How long ago? 5,100 plus years. Very recently. So 5,000. If you look at it from our age and compare it, 5,000 may look really big. But in the history, 5,000 is a recent past. And coming from Hyderabad, for us, anything in the past, whether it be yesterday or 10 years ago. तो परसों को हुआ था. It is always one common word. So Bhagavan Krishna came and cleaned up the entire place. He cleaned off all those who were supporting Kauravas and the Kauravas, He had created an amazing strength of Yadavas. He did not want to make another clan which would be so powerful and start becoming corrupt. He made sure that that also is annihilated. He cleaned up the entire environment and left. Where are we? Oh, we haven't seen worst yet. When he comes and he is changing, what? The world is not changed. Back to the square one, teddy ki teddy. You know what is teddy ki teddy? Crooked as ever. It's called dog's tail. Kutte ki dum, teddy ki teddy. The outside change is not of that importance. What is of importance is my change within myself. If I change from within, I being the integral part of this society, the texture of the society changes. But without me changing, trying to change everybody else, do you think people will have even the patience to listen if I have to change? No. So, focus not on the changing aspect of the world and be tuned to the changes, but instead withdraw from those changes and tune ourselves to the changeless reality that we are. Why? Tadeva shukram tad brahma tadevamritamuchyate. Tadeva shukram, because that alone is pure. That changeless eternal reality alone is purity. Everything else. And what is the impurity? Constant fluctuation is its impurity. And the extension of that impurity is trying to hold on to those constant changes, trying to fix them so that they don't change. Everybody has a certain personality, don't we? And every time in the family structure, there is some kind of up and down. What is the up and down about? We are trying to change the rest of them around us in the family. How many times do I have to tell you change? Did I tell you my recent little older incident? Parso. Which happened parso. There is this restaurant and there is this, he knows me, I have been going there for 10 years. It is 6 years that he has been there. So I went there, paid him, had my food, paid him. I was waiting for my whatever, the rest of the money to come back. So he must have forgotten. So I went and tapped on his shoulder and I said, hey, where is my change? So he looked straight and said, I thought you were a monk, you should know better. Change should come from within. I said, okay, my bad. Where is the rest of my money? Let's come to the point. See, we try changing others, get frustrated because we want to fix everybody, everything around us to be in a certain shape and format. It is a constant throbbing nature, fluctuating nature of the world, of this universe, and trying to fix it in one module will be frustrating. Or today is a Valentine's Day, a generic complaint between the beloved and the lover. You have changed, you are not like what you were earlier. What else do you expect? We are not Mullah Nasruddin. This Mullah Nasruddin, he went into the city in his village, town, and the marketplace, he took the highest platform and he announced, I can challenge anybody. He was known for such pranks. I am the only one who is changeless in this town. I have remained the same when I was 7, and now that I am 70, I have remained the same. And when you make such contradictory statements, people do get carried away. They said, prove. There was like whole gathering in front of him. And he went through the entire town to reach the nearest hillock. Went there was a huge boulder. He said, showing that boulder, when I was 7, I could not move this. Now I am 70, I still cannot move this. See, I have not changed. Oh, wow. Understand the nature of this universe. Understand where we can really work and what we can work. The entire universe is in a state of constant flux, it will change. Accept that fact. We are in such blinders that we have, that we don't want to accept even the simplest of the facts. The birth and death. Why did they die? Anybody born? There is an MFG, there is an EXP. Will die, that is the nature. Understand its nature. Why such serious issues of birth and death? Simple things. Hair growing white. Can't accept it. Lagao. Whitewash, no, blackwash. You cannot call it whitewash. This is for those who are still blessed with hair. For those of us who are, deforesting. I read a very beautiful comment. They said, those who get deforested from the front, bald from the front, are emotionally very good. Those who go bald in the back, they are intelligent. Those who go like me, front and back, they are confused. Accept the fact that the hair, it falls, that is the nature of the hair, it changes colors. Swamiji, I don't know what is wrong with me, I used to remember everything, nowadays I can't remember anything. That is called a beautiful aspect of life called salinity. Accept it. But we don't want to accept. You're calling me old? No, I'm calling you senile. Worse than that. The simple truths of life that it is changing and we don't want to accept it. We can't accept it as we are, how we are, what we are. We don't want to accept it in the entire universe around. The nature of it is to constantly change. Understand the change and move along with it. When can that understanding be firmly rooted inside? When we hold on to something that is changeless. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa ji, he used to give a very beautiful example. In Hindi it is called chakki. Maybe today very crudely to translate it will be the stone grinder. So they put the grains in the middle, there is a hub. The base of that stone, there is one stone which is not moving, there is the upper stone which is lighter than the lower one and has a peg holding which you move. Chekki pisoing. And you put the grains in the middle and it comes out. It also has, the speed and the intensity with which you do, it can be powdered, it can be, like made as a rava and various things. So, he says that grain which goes away from the center point is highly susceptible to be crushed, ground. But that which holds on to the centerpiece, though it is in this entire movement, can it be crushed? It will never be crushed. We cannot blame life saying that life is crushing me. You have allowed yourself to be crushed. Hold on to that changeless reality. That center hub, that peg center one which does not move, around which everything moves, is called Kutaha. Kutastha, something which is that stable. Hold on to it. But are we rooted? Are we rooted deep within, into that, firmly abiding into that? Instead, our focus is outside. Understand that also. We saw that in the beginning of the 5th chapter. Paranchikani Vyaturuna Swayambhuhu. The organs of perception action are made for the outside interaction. They are extrovert by nature. If you open your eyes, it will see only outside. When you wake up, your ears will only go out to hear the sounds. That is how the instruments are made. Trying to expect a balance through them is not a possibility. Discipline them a little bit so that you can transcend them. Understand the nature of those instruments even, that they are made for the extrovert. When do you become introvert? When you have disciplined them, disidentified from them, then you can become introvert. Now, instead in your meditation class, people are like, what are you doing? I am trying to be introvert. It is not to be taken literally. And suddenly they will do this, trying to focus. Why Bhagavan said that, bhror madhye, between the eyebrows you have to focus. Before the meditation class he had 2 eyes, after the meditation class he had 1.5 eye, right? North-south ratio, do not know where they are seeing. It is not through the physical means. The disciplining structure is to discipline them so that I can disidentify with it. The moment I learn the art of disidentifying from these external factors, I can turn my attention to the core of my own being. That changeless one alone, Shukraha, is the purest one. Anything that changes cannot be pure. And that purity by the Mahatmas is recognized as Brahman. Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma Tadeva Amrita Muchyate. And that is called Amrita. Why? Because that is changeless. Anything that changes is called Mrita. Death is also a change. See, by definition, they are so pragmatic that it is applicable in such broad meaning. Mrita means anything that changes. Amrita, that which is the changeless eternal factor. tadeva amritam uchyate. Lokaha sarve ashritaha. Shritaha meaning ashritaha. All this multitude of fluctuality that we see takes the support of this Sanatana Tattva, takes the support of this eternal substratum on which this fluctuation dances. Look at it as a dance, it is not frustrating. But trying to look for permanency or some kind of a pattern which remains as is, then it becomes frustrating. The entire universe of fluctuation dances on this substratum. Though this is a very bad example, but still it drives home a certain point. See, when you watch a movie on the screen, you go to the theater, watch the movie, there are various things that are happening on that screen. You know for real that it is not real. So, suddenly there is a house on fire. Do you take a bucket of water and go there and and that house is on fire and there is a child trapped in that house? Do you suddenly take out your phone and call 911? House is on fire, this is the address. You don't need to. Why? That which is dancing on the screen, the movement happens. See, the movement also happens as if it were live. There is what? 24 frames per second? Something like that. 24 or 28 frames per second. When the frames move that fast, there is a seeming movement created which appears real. For that movement to happen, something which is immobile, something which is permanent should support that movement. That is when we can see the movie. Similarly, the entire world of fluctuation, let it fluctuate. The fluctuations will not bother us as long as we have the standpoint of the substratum. And this entire universe is, taking the support of that one substratum alone. Lokaha ashritaha sarve. Lokaha, not just this world. It has never been a universe. It has always been a multiverse. All these, entire cosmos with this multiple, I cannot again use universe, multiple or multiverses put together are supported by that one substratum alone. Tadunatyeti kaschana. There is nothing that can second or doubt this principle. Hey Nachiketa, you are asking of that reality, whether there is that reality has death or it has afterlife. All these transitions happen because of the support of that substratum. That substratum, that changeless reality is the truth that one should know and that one should be knowing. Nothing else is worth knowing. Tadunatyeti kaschana ye tadvai tat. This is that truth. Continuing, it says in the second mantra, यदिदं किंच जगत् सर्वं प्राणयेजति निःसृतम् महद्भयं वज्रमुद्यतम् य एतद्विदुरमृतास्ते भवन्ति एतद्विदुरमृतास्ते भवन्ति। यदिदं किंच जगत् सर्वं येजति प्राण निःसृतम्. We have seen this word even in Kathopanishad. There it comes as tannejati, tad ejati. Ejati. Ejati does not meaning that it ages. Age is to move, to have the flux is called ejati. Yadidam kincha jagat sarvam ejati nisritam. The entire universe is an expression, throbbing expression, supported by prana. Here prana does not mean the pancha pranas. Here prana meaning as the breath enlivens the being, that which is the enlivening factor for this entire universe, hence therefore recognized as prana. What is that? That we call it as Brahman, God, Paramatma, Supreme, whatever you can name it. X factor, whatever you can want to name it. In the scriptures it is called as Paramatma, Brahman. That Brahman is as though the prana of this entire universe. That universe which is expressing throbbing and it's constantly moving, constantly ejati. Oh, that also, English also fine, it means very well. What is this universe? It constantly ages, constantly changes. And all these changes are according to a certain plan. Meaning, it is not a random change that is happening. It is not a chaotic pattern. It is not a chaos theory. But it is a pattern which has got a system in place. And who is it that holds or that is installed that system in place? That can be called as Paramatma in the form of Ishvara. He is the one who has created the norms for the entire universe as to what pattern the system moves in. So, everything is bound by that natural law. If we understand, when we understand that natural law, tune ourselves to that natural law, meaning understand that natural law and its functionality, there is nothing better to de-stress. The masseurs and the aromatherapy and nothing of this helps, they are temporary. What is the best way to de-stress? To understand this natural law and tune ourselves to that. Because everything functions mahadbhayam under this strict natural laws. They cannot be bent, they cannot be broken. Whether you understand them or not, whether you want to acknowledge them or not, it is a law and it functions. See, the likes and dislikes with regards to this world is pretty flimsy. It is depending on each individual's likes and dislikes how the world changes. But the natural laws are not based on our likes and dislikes. Oh, I like it, hence therefore I accept it. I don't like it, hence therefore I reject it. It doesn't function that way. I am Indian. I am Indian, Desi to the heart, to the core. So I will drive on the other side of the road, like I drive in India. See, if you have driven in India, you should be comfortable driving here. Because the road is going on one side, you go on the exact opposite direction. The national highways are built really beautiful, but to drive on it sometimes is a very scary thing. Once we were driving from Kanyakumari to Madurai late at night, and there are two different roads. There is an entire island in between separating the two sides, and suddenly we see a light focused towards us. What is that? That is why I say, whenever you find light, be aware, it may be a train running towards you. And this was like a huge, it's a tractor with a huge overburdening amount of mass it is carrying. Like one little poke and everything will start falling apart. And he would not take the side of the road, right in the middle of the road, royally he will drive. We were going at 100, 110, looking at that coming towards us, and as we got nearer, we realized that that fellow is not budging. So we took aside and allowed him pass by. If you come back here and say, I am from India, I will drive however I feel like. It is not if you appreciate it, like it, don't like it, that you start following the law. It is irrespective of our appreciation or not. The law functions. I keep giving the same example like electricity. Do you believe in electricity? The laws of electricity? Yes or no? Okay, good. Those who believe in laws of electricity and function with that electricity, can we say, I believed in electricity, it gave me a shock? Buddhu. If you believe and understand the laws of electricity, that yes, it will give you a shock, would you do that? Sometimes our belief system is very conked off. I believe in Lord, and why does Lord do this to me? If you understand what that Lord is, you won't ask this stupid question. Understand the natural process of this entire universe. Tune to it. Because everything functions under his strict orders. Water will flow from higher altitude to the lower altitude. Fire will always, the flame will always burn upwards. Reverse it. Okay, candle go reverse. Still the flame will go upside. Though I am saying it in a very simple examples, understanding the natural law. Here what they are trying to focus is everything is fluctuating. Understand the speed and understand the mode of its fluctuation and function along with it, rather than trying to control it and fix it. whether it be a person, whether it be a thing, whether it be an environment, understand its pulse and function accordingly. Because Bhagavan is as if, Vajram Udyutam, he is taking a weapon in his hand and holding all these things in its proper course of law and its expression. There is a video by Gurudev called Planet in Crisis. There he says, the universe is not a chaos, it is a cosmos, bound by the natural law as installed by the Lord. Mahad bhayam vajram udyutam ya etad viduram amritaste bhavanti, ya etad viduhu amritaste bhavanti. Those who understand this, that there is a natural course of action, there is a natural law binding everything in its course. The sooner we understand, the sooner we are peaceful with ourselves. Or else we will be frustrated, holding on to something that is constantly changing, trying to make sure that it does not change. Holding on to something that is changeless and wanting it to change according to our conveniences, whims and fancies. And create unnecessary layers of ruptures. Understand the beauty of this beautiful world. That it throbs, it is supported by that substratum. Focus on the substratum and dance along with the fluctuations. It is like going on a horse. See, when we go for this Char Dham Yatra and other places, that is not even a horse actually. It is a mule, kachhar. I am not talking the one riding, I am talking the on which we are riding is called a kachhar, mule. So they sit and they are scared. Scared of the fact that I have never ridden one and it's all steep valleys. What if the horse will slip and fall? It is more intelligent than we think. If it slips, it knows how to maintain its balance. It will find its balance and find the course. In its effort to find its course of balance, you are the imbalance, you may be dropped out, but it knows how to protect itself. So after hearing this, then they sit on, they should see them. See, when you have learnt horse riding, you cannot be stiff when the horse is galloping. You have to sync your movement along with the movement of that horse. So if the horse is moving, you also need to gallop along with it. Nahi. हम लोग तो बुद्ध परमात्मा है. By the time they get off that horse, right from Mooladhara, everything has shown up. Every muscle is started speaking to you, demanding your attention. After 4-5 hours of this, you can't even sit on a chair. So after the horse ride, you should see them eat. Baitho na, nahi, I am fine. Why? Because they keep themselves rigid. So when you are riding, you have to gallop along, tune with it. But when can you tune? When you have a balance within, then tune with it. You will see that you are dancing along with the entire universe. Life seems such seamless. I don't mean to say that suddenly it will all be smooth and straight. It will still have its own surprises, it will still have its ups and downs. When you go up, you go along with it. When you go down, you crash along with it. But you understand that it is its nature and you go along with the grain of it, you benefit. I think it is in Kindle Life or Self-Unfoldment, Gurudev says, if a river is flowing 5 miles per hour and the boat that you are traveling has 8 miles per hour and you are going down the stream, what will be your net speed? Simple addition. Calculator is not working, Swamiji. 13 miles per hour. Say you are going upstream against the current. What will be your net speed? 3 miles per hour. Where is 13 miles per hour and where is 3 miles per hour? And then say, life is so tense, Swamiji. No wonder why. It's so pressured. Because you are going against the grain. It will be stressful. Find the nature of its flow and tune along with it. It's such a joyful ride. Or at least understand that this is the nature of the flow and I need to go across it. Stop complaining. The next thing, I know that this is the flow and I am going against it. I understand where I am and what I am doing. It will have its own stress and I am fine with it. At least have that courage. Neither have the understanding nor have the courage. As I say, I am trying to get the best of the material world and the spiritual world. Naiya dubegi. Because Bhagavan is running this entire universe in that strict ordinance of law of this nature. Those who understand this, amritaste bhavanti. See here, actually what you acquire is called immense peace. That is what you gain. But here they say amritaste bhavanti. Why is that peace called amrita? And for 2-3 reasons. One reason at least. See, if there are people that are around always screaming, shouting, nagging, and suddenly all of them have gone out. I was at somebody's house and like 2-3 kids, the kids and their friends, they would constantly be playing that, what do you call that? Something like that, PS3 or Xbox something. And it's those violent games with all those sound effects and slashing, tearing, killing. Almost like the 5-6 hours continuously, constant sounds. And suddenly they went out for playing. Viduhu amrutaste bhavanti. It was a nectarine moment. That peace was well deserved peace. That it appeared like amrita. Second meaning is, having acquired this peace, it becomes a stable platform to dive deep into that blissful nature. Hence, therefore, it is called Amritaste Bhavanti. Like somebody asked this wise, smart Alec, where does this road go? He said, I have lived this I have lived here for almost 20 years. This road has always been here. You cannot, it was not that literally that it meant that. It was a figurative thing, that where does it lead to? So you go to the railway station and ask, has Chennai gone? Chennai is there. What it means is, the train going towards Chennai, has it gone? The porters have that language. Chennai, arey Chennai. Where did Chennai come from? No, it is a train from Chennai that has come. Similarly, they are calling this state as Amrita, because that is the platform where you can really, you are assured of that Amritattva. Hence, therefore, that state is called Amrita. Amritaste Bhavanti. And this is the confession of Bhagavan Yama, Lord Yama, his confession. What does he say in the next mantra? Bhayadasyagnistapati Bhayattapati suryaha Bhayadindrascha vayuscha Mrityurdhavati panchamaha. He says, Bhayad asya, the ordinance of this Paramatma being so strict, the nature's laws are so well defined that there is no scope of complacent behavior. So, the Agni, he brings out his nature because of that Paramatma. The Surya brings out his nature because of that Paramatma. Indra brings out, Vayu brings out, and the confession of Lord of Mrityu, he says, even I do my job. The fear of that Paramatma alone. Now imagine, we are all afraid of that Mrityu, and that Mrityu is bound by the laws of Paramatma. So here one beautiful point to understand, when they say everything happens because of his will. What does it mean? His will is already incorporated in this world as the natural laws of this universe. Go according to those natural laws, you are with the will. You go against them, there will be consequences. So it is not to be misunderstood that everything happens according to his will, that I take a step, I don't take a step. He is constantly watching, and then why did you, why this? He is not a micromanaging menace in this world, but instead he has created this beautiful natural laws, and understand them and function according to. Because right from Indra, Surya, Agni, Vayu and the Mrityu also follow implicitly this divine ordinance by that Supreme alone. Mrityurdhavati panchamaha. And then he says as a word of advice, Iha chedashakat bodhum praksharirasya visrasaha ततः सर्गेषु लोकेषु शरीरत्वाय कल्पते इह चेद अशकत बोद्धुम प्राक् शरीरस्य विस्रसः ततः सर्गेषु लोकेषु शरीरत्वाय कल्पते. Understand, Nachiketa, that here, meaning iha, in this life, if one is able to understand this reality before leaving this body, then you reach to that glorified state of mukti. If we don't achieve this within this life, what will happen? Tata sargeshu lokeshu shariratvaya kalpate. We will be going into this world of bondage, and as long as that bondage is not shaken away, we will keep transmitting ourselves from one form to the other. Sometimes with 2 legs, sometimes with 4 legs, sometimes with multiple legs, sometimes with tail as our detail, sometimes multiple eyes, multiple mouths. I am not talking of avatar of Bhadrakali or something wherein you have multiple hands and centipede, millipede, dog, cat, mule, donkey, horse, 4 legs, sometimes no leg, crawling your way. Different bodies, different formats. Now that we already have this human form, past is done with, we cannot change, but at least the present moment moving forward, how should this birth be properly utilized? While functioning in this world, understand the basic nature and the natural laws of this universe. Detach from the identifications, attach yourself to that substratum and tune to these different frequencies of fluctuation. As they move, you move along. You are with them moving, but you are not carrying forward the movement into the next fluctuation. It is like wearing a gloves. You operate, as soon as it is done, fresh. So, with each experience, each movement in this world, move from one moment to the next with that freshness, without lugging the entire burden of the entire past. Drop it. It takes a lot of courage to drop. It is not that easy. I tell you, that day when we have really dropped it, there is immense joy of unburdening. Until then, we don't even realize what kind of burden we are unnecessarily carrying. If we don't leave that burden and gain that stability of the antarmukhatva, there is no guarantee that we will come back to this opportunity again. We may, I am not saying we will never, we may, but it may be too long a while. Now while we are at it anyway, why lose this golden opportunity, the most beautiful sacred opportunity? Once in a cycle we come to this human birth. Once in such few human births, we get an opportunity to understand this tattva. After having gotten these kinds of opportunities, not to put effort, it's only after understanding. Without understanding, trying to put effort, it will lead us nowhere. But after understanding it, if we still don't give it its priority, that is where Adi Shankaracharya ji in his poem he says, tatah kim, tatah kim, tatah kim, tatah kim. Videsheshu manyah, swadesheshu dhanyah. Well recognized worldwide. Videsheshu manyah, swadesheshu dhanyah. You have got a Bharat Ratna in your Swadesha. What good is it if this human life is not utilized for the very purpose for which the human birth is known for? And then we come back and say, but Swamiji, I am born, but what is the purpose of my life? The very purpose of human life is to understand that supreme. There is no other purpose of this life. But then we suddenly become neo-intelligent beings. But how pragmatic is that statement? Baba, are you sincere about being happy? Are you sincere about being peaceful? If you are sincere, step into the field of spirituality. If you are not, be where you are, enjoy what you are doing. Spirituality is not about conversion. पकड़ के घसीट के लाएंगे, बदलते हो कि नहीं? You cannot convert anybody to become spiritual. There are many parents who say, wish my son becomes this spiritual. I look at them. I don't even say anything. When can your son become spiritual? वो चमकता भी नहीं है, it doesn't even dawn. They are totally in a contradicting path. And what they are expecting is that their children and everybody else, they become spiritual. It always starts with I taking my first step. See, even in our congregation, when we have Bhagavad Gita classes, when we have these discussions, the first question that the parent every time goes back to ask, but how do I explain this to my child? How do I make sure that my child understands this and apply this in their life? Who asked you to go global? It was at your personal level to be applied on the self, by the self. Without that being applied, see, again we get back to the same hypocritical standpoint. Swamiji, I cannot change anyway. At least let my children change. I don't know, we go back into loops. Now, Nachiketa must have looked at Yamaraja. So, you are talking about that stable platform, that experience of divine or that mukti that you are talking. How is it like? Can you give us like an idea? Nowhere else in any other scripture within our Hindu scriptures has the definition been so beautifully explained as to how that experience is. So, he has gone to these different worlds. So, from different standpoints of worlds of experiences, he is giving us this mantra. So, he says, Yatha darshe tathatmani यथा स्वप्ने तथा पितृलोके यथाप्सु परिव ददृशे तथा गंधर्वलोके छाया तपयोरिव ब्रह्मलोके। So at each one of these lokas, the Brahman and its experience is explained with an example. The Brahman is seen yatha adarshe tatha atmani, right here, right now. The experience of the self. What can it be equated to? It can be equated to looking at yourself in the mirror. I mean, this contemplation is very deep contemplation. What you are looking at is reflection, but what you are connecting to is not the reflection. What you are tuning yourself to, what you are finding yourself with complete attached to, connected to, is not the reflection. Through the reflection, I am getting connected to my own self. Similar is the experience of that mukti when we gain it here and now in this very life. Meaning it is that distinct, that clear. Undoubted is the experience. Yathadarshe tathatmani. In Pitruloka, because of the tapas or various punya phala, having reached the Pitruloka, they attain to that state. How is the experience? Yatha swapne. Like what we experience in the dream, a very foggy experience, nothing with distinct clarity. You have an experience, but you can't nail down any experience. That is how the experience of this Paramatma in the Pitruloka. Yatha apsu pari iva dadrishe tatha gandharva loke. In the Gandharva Loka, how is the experience of that Supreme? As the reflection in the waters, apsu in the waters. Pari iva, seen like. Now, how stable is the viewing when you see it as a reflection in the water surface? Nobody need jump into it to create ripples, nobody need throw a stone into it to create ripples. A gentle breeze, shaky. That shaky is the experience of that self in Gandharva Loka. Even in Brahmaloka, how is the experience? It is not that distinct as it is here and now. In Brahmaloka, the experience is chaya tapayoriva. They are like the distinctly separated of light and shade. How is the experience of that self? Is like the experience of the shade as the shadow. There is a shadow, but there is no distinctness to it. Where does it have that distinct experience? Here, now. So my question to you, so that we can ponder on it, not for you to answer. Should we miss this beautiful opportunity of what we have? The only sincere prayer would be, O Lord, you have given me opportunity so far. Further, my mind gets exposed to such things. The next step also, help me unfold in such a way that only you can help me, that I transcend the stupidity of my limitations, so that I change my attitude from being an extrovert to being an introvert, so that I understand the difference between Shreya and Preya and select always the Shreya. Understand the nature's natural laws, tune to that, disidentifying from all my attachments and function from the stability of the substratum. So, how do we do it? That sequence which Bhagavan has already said, Bhagavan here, Lord Yama has already said, he is summing up the thought as to what he spoke in his first 5 chapters. Because after listening to 6 long chapters, we may end up as, Swamiji, actually I wanted to ask you now after the Upanishad class, what is the sadhana that I have to do? Meet me in the next room. Batata hu. Bhagavan Yama has his patience. So, he sums it all up for our clarity. We will read the mantra today, see the meaning tomorrow. Indriyanam prathak bhavam udayastamayau chayat prathak utpadyamananam matva dhiro na shochati. Even that sentence, matva dhiro na shochati, which Bhagavan has used 11 times in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is picked directly from here. I tell you, Bhagavan Krishna must have been in love with this text. When anybody with comprehensive understanding looks into this text, would fall in love with this text. So that we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamataha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.